Welcome everyone, Questini here with a discussion about Balthazar Gelt in Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires, who's apparently sailing on land. Yeah, that's because he was at sea when he got teleported over here to the Empire. Pretty funny though. Still, Balthazar Gelt may have one of the best campaigns, if not the best campaigns, of the Empire. Elspeth has a better army than he does. Karl Franz has a better empire building capability, but what Gelt can provide is versatility in his campaign. See, if you're playing a campaign as Karl Franz, you'll probably be doing the same things over and over again. Those things might be changed with the rework of the Empire, but you're still going to be dealing with the Empire. If you're playing an Elspeth campaign, you've basically replaced Gelt's previous campaign, and in some ways a bit worse, because while Elspeth certainly is much stronger than Gelt was pre-patch, she doesn't have mountain climate, which does limit her strategic options. So first, let's begin with that. Let's begin with the map control situation. You do have mountains in a Gelt campaign, and this is actually a fairly significant benefit because it means you can actually control Cathay better than the Cathayan factions, because you can take control of virtually every region of Cathay, with the exception of the jungles of Qi'an, and have suitable climate for them. On top of that, you have the entirety of the Mountains of Moor available to you, the Dragon Isles, and while the Darklands are not suitable, the World's Edge Mountains are. And on top of all of that, you also have sea lanes that can bring you to Lustria, and you have suitability of virtually every climate in Lustria. No joke, with the exception of the magical forest that's here, you have all of Lustria as suitable climate. And out of the Imperial campaigns, with the exception of Marcus Wolfhard, who literally starts in Lustria, you may have the easiest access to it. You could argue Volkmar, but because of the situation he's got to deal with in his campaign, sure, you could argue, yeah, it's easy enough to cross, but in reality, you will not find necessarily the time to do so. And truth be told, Gelt would even be better than Volkmar in his position because of the mountain climate, though Volkmar does have his own particular advantages. So climate situation is a significant benefit in Gelt's campaign. That's the first part. The second part is the dilemma that Gelt has over here with the nomads. So he starts in the throne, or in the Temple of Elemental Winds. There are some pretty good landmarks over here, like growth, so you can grow this region very quickly. Mastery of Elemental Winds, you can get this element as tier 2 when you take it because of an event. There are significant advantages with this particular starting position. But you can absolutely cheese this, which is what I've done here. See, you get a couple of events, but they're reliant on you wiping out the nomads. So you get an event when you take the temple, you get an event when you take Fu Hung, or someone takes Fu Hung that isn't the nomads, and you get an event when they get wiped out in the bamboo crossing, most likely. In this case, Yao Ming took it because he also starts at war with them, so you kind of are erasing him, but you could possibly manipulate Yao Ming to fight Snitch, which he's not in this campaign, so he has no enemies at the moment. You could manipulate him in that situation, and that would keep him occupied. Probably should have done that in this situation, but just learn from that. You kind of want him because it gives you time to establish your presence here, because what happens is you get an event of either staying in Cathay, friends with Cathay, or staying in Cathay and being at war with the Cathayan factions or bad diplomatic relations. So you can either conquer Cathay or ally them, depends on what you want to do there. Lots of choices there, but then you can return to the Empire, and every territory in Cathay will be given to Xiao Ming that you control. But it's only territory in Cathay, not outside of Cathay. You don't have a time limit on this. You can take your time. You can do it however you want. So you can keep the Dragon Isles. You can keep Noblar Country. You can keep whatever territory you've expanded towards in this campaign. Now, it makes sense because obviously you could distantly confederate with Imperial factions, so it would be weird if Xiao Ming could get... if he could get, Imperial territory. Might be a bit interesting if he could. But all your heroes and armies will be teleported to the Empire, but you then get this benefit. Population surplus +1 for newly captured settlements, immune to diplomatic penalties, immune to regionalist attrition, minus 100% upkeep, 30% campaign movement range, and construction time. So that means, while you won't quite have zero upkeep, because supply lines will negate that to a certain extent. You effectively can recruit free armies, and you have unlimited cash. Another thing you can do also beyond taking the territory here, there's just so happens to be a faction rich in money beyond measure that will gladly buy all the territory in Cathay right just before you take the Bamboo Crossing. Hell, you might even take the Bamboo Crossing and sell that on that turn, though whether or not that works is a different discussion. But the defenders of the Great Plan, they're rich in money. The reason they're rich in money is obviously AI factions get more money than you. But on top of that, their main settlement building, and every settlement they have, generates 750 income. That's pretty substantial. A portion of that is obviously going to go in tribute to Nakai. That's how that's designed. But that means these guys have hundreds of thousands of gold potentially by this turn. Because they're not using that money for anything else. They can't recruit armies. They don't do anything. So you can take all of this territory. Like, I got 60,000 here. I could have gotten even more if I had been able to, take the Bamboo Crossing myself, maybe sell it to them. Because when you take the Bamboo Crossing, the event will trigger, but it won't necessarily trigger instantly. Like, you could achieve that. Like, over here, he took it, unless you obviously show the event. Like, it's a bit of a dice roll. But regardless, Xiao Ming can have 2 region province. Okay, I can have Fu Hong. And then you can go deal, take all the east, take all the central parts, deal with Snitch. You might be racing the other Cathayan factions. Or you can let the other Cathayan factions burn while you deal with things over here in the Mountains of Moor. Though I would recommend not necessarily wiping out Greases because, well, Grimgor. Though Tamarkan seems to be a good match for Grimgor, which is pretty wild. His AI is actually doing quite well in this particular case against Grimgor, which is wild to see. Though many times I will see Grimgor win. And if you think Grimgor was crazy enough before, imagine Grimgor with Tamarkan's defeat rate, because he will certainly gain it. Ouch. That's even nastier than before. So either Grimgor becomes super powerful, even more so than before, or he gets wiped out by Nurgle, which creates issues for you. But this is an insane benefit, and my recommendation is go beat up Elspeth. Not because you want to pick on her, but because her defeat rate is so exceptional. You can then confederate her by, you could just leave her with 1 territory, give her Solon, make peace, and eventually confederate her. Nuln belongs to the strong, and the strong is Gelt. And then go annihilate Vlad. And this is just understand that everything that I've talked about here so far is simply related to Gelt's territory, his climate situation, and the events he has with his starting position. There's more. A lot more with Gelt in respect to this. He can print money for the College's Magic. He has so many benefits. I'm not going to list them all. I've done videos on that. But simply put, you have powerful magical abilities on the campaign map or in battle. So that becomes exceptionally powerful. Cataclysm spells. Say hello to that. Unlimited hero capacity for battle wizards. You may have the highest capacity of heroes of any faction in the entire game, because every turn you can summon a hero. And what's crazy about this, when you summon a hero, they start with movement range. So what this really does, when you consider this, like, obviously mages are not the best heroes, right, to spam, because there's only so many winds of magic, they're not going to do too well in melee. But here's the thing to understand. Because they start with movement range, you can immediately attach them to an army. So let's say Gorst was going to attack me over here, I start recruiting over here, right? And then it's like, if I just want to deal with Gorst, it's like, okay, just spam wizards. A lot of wizards in this situation, and attach them to that army. And while I may not win, between wizards, Regiments Renown, Electrocount State Troopers, you can deal with a lot of these threats. You can use it either defensively or offensively. For more, you have Cataclysm spells, really powerful abilities like reducing armor by 30, a lot of damage being done. Things like healing an entire army after it's taken a lot of damage, which is particularly useful when you're fighting in an uninhabitable climate. Some of these have long cooldowns, but it just means that every single threat that Gelt deals with, beyond just the regular spells and armies he has, can just be dealt with. Oh, I got Vlad to deal with. No problem. Let me just summon a magma storm. Oh, also let me destroy his entire defensive supplies when besieging him and causing wall breaches, which gives so much more flexibility in siege battles.
Yes, my lord.
So all of this combined for Gelt, and then you add Gotrek and Felix, the new version of Gotrek and Felix, and Ulrika. All of this combined makes for an insane combination. It means that looking at this map, you have a lot of territory over here that you can take. All of the Empire, all of Lustria, and the entirety of the Southlands. That is a huge level of potential in the campaign. Oh, and if you just want to pick on the dwarves, though maybe not recommended, you can also conquer the entire freaking mountain range. That is ridiculous. Like, if you're slowly but steadily looking to build an empire, Karl Franz is your better bet, because he gets surplus points constantly as opposed to just 10 turns, and he has experience benefits and so on. If you're looking at having OP armies, Elspeth is the best choice. But if you're looking at the global adventure and global conquest, I don't think you can beat Gelt in this. Like, Karl is more slow and steady. Gelt is just like, we will Zerg rush it. Oh, and best part about this, when we're talking about armies, not only does he get all those wizards, but he gets all the state troopers unlocked for research. So does Elspeth in the exact same way, but Elspeth can't print 3,500 gold every 3 turns. Constantly. Elspeth doesn't get 10 turns of free upkeep that you can guarantee in every single one of your campaigns. So effectively, Gelt is playing with well over 1,000 gold every single turn constantly. The more wizards you get, the more arcane essays you get, the more arcane essays you get, the more power you get. This is, like, the scalability of this campaign is crazy. The territorial control is crazy. The army abilities are crazy. All of this combined makes for an insane level of power in a campaign. I would dare say, while I don't necessarily think that from a pure objective standpoint Gelt is necessarily the best, I think from an objective standpoint you could make firm arguments in favor of Elspeth, Karl, or Gelt, and probably put them all of them in S tier. I personally firmly believe that Gelt may have the most interesting Empire campaign of all of them. That's my perspective. But again, there's benefits. Karl Franz can confederate imperial factions in the Empire, including Elspeth, through his fealty mechanic. Elspeth can travel around the world with her Gardens of War and has really strong armies. And Gelt has the most powerful magic in the game. Step aside, Techless. Oof. It's got to feel rough with Techless, though, now. You know, you think about the insane magical possibilities that Gelt has compared to poor Techless. Yeah, Techless really has gotten the short end of the stick from the very beginning of Warhammer 2. I think, like, that's a campaign they should look to remake in Warhammer 3. The same way that they've done with Gelt, the same way they've done with Karl Franz, because this is incredible. Like, I would say, like, 5.0 deserves a 10/10 just for the things you're seeing with Gelt and Karl Franz alone. Cosine, signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications, and stay tuned for more.